Boom! What's up, everybody? So in this video here, we're going to talk about the economy. The economy! I know, it's not the sexiest subject in the world, but it's incredibly important. It affects every single one of us. And if you understand some really basic tips and tricks about the prices of things and how things trend, you could set yourself up for some pretty big gains in the future. Not just that, but if things are taking a downswing right now and you understand what's up, you can keep going on an upswing. Now, one situation we have going on globally right now that's affecting all the economies is the coronavirus. It's been going on for the last couple of months, and especially over the last week or two, it's really started to affect those markets, those economies worldwide. Things are in a little bit of a turmoil right now, taking that downswing. So how can we continue to grow right now when things are slowing? And how can we continue that upswing into the future, okay? One way that you can do that is with precious metals. Precious metals like gold and silver. Now, over the past couple of weeks, with prices of pretty much everything dropping, the prices of gold and silver have too. This might mean it's time to buy that gold and silver, folks. Especially because when you look long term, the prices of gold and silver rise far faster than the money sitting in your savings account or your bank, or even faster than some of those CDs, those certificate of deposits that banks always try to sell you every time you're in there. Gold and silver rises faster than that. Plus, a couple lesser known metals that people, sometimes they think gold and silver are the only things out there. Lesser known metals that you might have only ever heard if you took a chemistry class and somehow remember it: palladium and rhodium. Palladium and rhodium, yes. And check this out, the prices of those over the last just year have skyrocketed. Palladium up 60% from the beginning of 2019 to the beginning of 2020. 60%. That is crazy, okay? Rhodium, what the heck is rhodium? Rhodium, over 2 times. The price more than doubled from 2019 to 2020. And even just the beginning of this year, it's already up crazy amounts, even with that small coronavirus-caused downswing with everything going on. So my point being, stock your money in these things, folks. I mean, just over a year or two, you could have crazy more money than you would in other ways that you would typically think of investing, like the stock market. With stocks, it can be really volatile, with money just sitting in your savings account or like a bank that you're not really making much on. Find ways to invest it into gold and silver. You can have literal bricks of gold and silver on hand, commemorable coins, I mean, whatever. You can have it physically, or you can invest into some sort of IRA or other fund that accepts metals in it. So there's a few tips and tricks that you can utilize. I've mentioned this palladium rhodium thing like on Instagram and Twitter before, things like that, and people message me like, I've never even heard of this stuff, but holy crap, because they're super into metals trading and stock market funds and all that, and they were like shocked with me. So it's some interesting stuff that, again, might not sound like the most exciting subject in the world, but if you look into it and just understand some basics, you can really continue to set yourself up for just a much better, freer lifestyle in the future, having some financial freedom to do the things you want to do. Now, to add to this conversation, I'm bringing on Colin Plume from NOBLEGOLD Investments. He understands the trends in the markets and the prices a lot better than I do. He's been trading gold and silver and these other precious metals for years, for a long, long time. So I wanted his expertise on this subject. We talk a little bit about how the coronavirus is affecting things, but we also get into the prices and how those prices might skyrocket coming soon, because this economy isn't going to stay slow. Once this coronavirus situation's done, things are going to start skyrocketing. I mean, the demand is just going to be there, so prices are going to shoot up, and I would think they're going to be even higher than they were at still high levels before this coronavirus caused just craziness going on. So anyway, check out this conversation that I have with Colin. I think you'll pick up a few more info nuggets from it that you can use, and go check out his website. Links for that will be below. Enjoy the conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome, Colin, back to the show. Glad to have you on again, my man.
Jordan, always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So let's start off just recapping everything that's going on since you track the financial markets, what's going on with all this coronavirus, just fear propaganda they're pushing out
Yeah,
there. Is that affecting it? So,
well, insecurity in the markets is always something you have to watch out for with your portfolio. And I think that this year, you have the coronavirus, which is obviously an issue. It's not going anywhere. It's something that's out of control right now. And I think that anytime you have any kind of slowdown of travel, slowdown of goods, especially from China, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. It's bound to have an effect on the financial markets, trade, and so a lot of people are kind of skeptical of where the stock market's going to go by the end of this year. And then read a lot of articles about if Bernie Sanders or anybody else gets in office, what could happen with the stock market. So there's definitely some threats out there to the stock market establishment. And I think that's why a lot of people have been moving into precious metals. And you've seen gold's reacted. A lot of people say, "Oh, the stock market goes up, gold's going to go down." Gold's been since end of 2018. Gold's up almost 30%. Silver's up almost 14% in that same time period. So it has not affected these precious metals in the slightest. But I think that people are kind of awakening to the prospect. And 30% growth, if you're looking for a safety investment over the last year and a half, is a phenomenal return. I mean, everybody would be happy with that.
totally. And getting into the numbers, we're talking about precious metals that are just a great bubble no matter what happens worldwide with dollars and things like that. And they always seem to be growing. But over the last year, just a year, two metals that people hardly ever hear of, one called rhodium and then palladium. They've had crazy gains. Palladium up 66% itself in 2019. I was crunching some numbers on rhodium. It was up 240%. Went up from 2,500, and the price at the end of 2019 was 6,000.
Yeah.
So what's going on with these metals? How many people actually invest in them, and why is the price rising so much?
Yeah, palladium is not IRA approved, so we don't get too much involved with them. But I'm sorry, rhodium is not IRA approved. Palladium is. So that is a metal that we have a lot of experience with. And if you check out our Twitter feed from about a year and a half ago, I was talking about palladium. And the biggest use for palladium is catalytic converters. And what's happening in Europe is, they're moving towards these energy efficient vehicles and smaller cars. And palladium is the metal they use for those engines. And so, that palladium over the last 2 months up, almost 45%. Unbelievable growth.
2 months.
Yeah,
2 months. So literally, if you put say $100, you'd have 150 now.
Yeah,
just in
exactly.
2 months, and 1,500.
Yeah, I mean, and people, when I was talking about palladium a year and a half ago, it's because it's not something that everybody talks about. Not everybody understands palladium, and obviously, there's when you have this kind of growth in a commodity, it's phenomenal. I think off the year I was telling you maybe 10% of our clients actually bought palladium, but all of them that did are obviously really happy with that growth. And a lot of them are taking some of that profit and they're moving into gold and silver because they believe gold and silver are still very undervalued. So it is an IRA approved metal. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but yeah, you can absolutely put it in your retirement account, which, like you said, 100 to 150 in 2 months is, it's almost like crypto kind of style returns, Bitcoin kind of returns and XRP returns. It's hovering in that kind of hemisphere, but with a lot less downside risk.
Yeah, basically, if people took your advice a year and a half ago and bought palladium, they could have doubled their money, doubled whatever they put in.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. And speaking of gold too, classic gold. One of Trump's next Fed picks onto the board of governorship, there's Judy Shelton, and she is a huge proponent of the gold standard. She's actually taken some heat in the mainstream media for that as well. So what sort of impact do you see that having?
Well, I think that her becoming the Fed chair would legitimize gold in terms of a few things. One, there a lot of people have been talking about, seeing how much gold there actually is in Fort Knox and doing an actual audit, which I think that she would probably push for. Even though it's not really her direct jurisdiction, I think it would bring some light to that. And a lot of people have wanted that to happen. But maybe it would give some kind of pause to our monetary policy in terms of just this debt bubble that we continue to push forward. Because if you're a gold bug, you believe that the people that buy gold are people that save money, people that believe that you should spend as much as you need and then save the rest. And they don't believe in this kind of kicking the can down the street. They're not credit card people. I mean, I've been in the metals business for 15 years. So I don't know Judy Shelton, but I believe that the mindset is someone that is being more conservative with the monetary policy. And I think that would be good for people that really believe that they want a stronger currency, they want a stronger dollar, they don't want to continue to devalue it. So that would, if she got, I think it would probably be better for the dollar. But it's hard to know, what the real agenda is with some of these people. There hasn't been anyone in the Fed chair that hasn't just pushed this continuing debt bubble and just keeping interest rates at, when they dropped interest rates to the rates they are today, people thought, oh, this will be a few years and eventually it'll change. And now we're in this never-ending cycle where we literally can't get out of these low interest rates, even though they're really not reflective of where they should be. A lot of it just has to do with the fact that the world is allowed us to keep interest rates this low, and they continue to buy our debt. But I don't think that will continue.
So, hey man, it's tax season. I'm dealing with that like everybody else out there is right now. And with precious metals and with you helping out with investments and things like that, is there any way that people can have a safety net there if they want to just plug some money away to be able to write it off?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The IRS did change some of their guidelines for IRAs in terms of how much you can put in, some of the restrictions on when you can start taking the money out. They've also allowed people to contribute more money at a later age because there were some restrictions on that where they had an age where you couldn't contribute any more money to the plans, and they've kind of pulled those restrictions because they know that people are living a lot longer. Therefore, they need to put a lot more money away for retirement. I think until April 15th, you have time to put money back in for last year if you didn't max out your plan. And if you can do it, I would say try to continue to look at that and see if there's more money that you can put aside because all that money that you put in the retirement account down the road when you're ready and you need it, and the bills and the health bills and everything is there, every little penny that you can put now, it compounds. Compounds. The returns compound over and over time. So it's really important to try to save as much as you can, which is every article you read about is millennials and Gen Ys and all these people, they're not putting enough money away for retirement. But for people that do have a decent nest egg, I would say take a look at what your returns were for last year and see if it's a return you're happy with. And really, I would calculate and see how much you have exposed in the stock market and if you're comfortable with that amount in there. And if you're not, you want to learn about, diversifying with precious metals, which, that's what we do. Definitely give us a call. We can send you out some free information. But nowadays, everything.
And what's the phone number? What's the phone number on the website?
Yeah, phone number is 877-646-5347. And we're always available to answer any questions about, you might have an old 401k you forgot about. People call us all the time. Oh, I found this 401k. It's got 15 or 20 or 30,000, and it was from a job I worked out many years ago. Those can all be rolled over into IRAs. And whether you do it in precious metals or not, you probably want to get it out of that old 401k because once you leave there, obviously they're not inclined to be in your best interest, and you want to get control of that. So whether you move it in with us or with anybody, get control of that old 401k money, put it into an IRA that you are in control of, that it's a self-directed IRA, so you can manage it and make sure that, you know, you're getting the best possible return, and you're keeping your eyes on it the best way that you can. Because people, you'd be surprised, Jordan, how many people call us, hey, I just found a statement. I worked at, you know, Starbucks, and there's, you know, $12,000 in there. Well, that's your money. That's yours. You know, whether you put the money in or Starbucks put the money in or whoever, it's your money. And, you know, take a look at it, make sure. And this is a good time because everyone's doing their taxes. Those statements are coming to you because they have to send them to you. So make sure that you update your addresses, make sure you get the right information about your money, and take control of your finances.
Yeah, for sure. And what's the website too?
NOBLEGOLDinvestments.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you. We'll have you on again soon.
All right. Thanks.
Take care, buddy.